Welcome to a brand new episode of the Bull Take Podcast. I'm Austin Wader. That's Austin Hill. First episode after Christmas. We wish you had a very Merry Christmas. We hope you had a great Christmas with your family, enjoyed some football, NBA, whatever you watched, regardless. But nonetheless, we're here talking NFL because we've had a couple of games in week 17 already, but some big games are going down in week 17 this week. We're going to talk that playoff picture. I know what you're going to ask. Where's the college football episode? We are saving that for coming out Monday or Tuesday, closer to the next round of the college football playoff, which is in neutral sites at bowl games. So we'll talk about that closer today. But just NFL today. And Austin, let's start as we always do with our NFL episodes, which is our biggest winners and our biggest losers from the past week in the NFL. We're not counting Christmas because I said so. So who's the biggest loser from the past week in the NFL?
I would say probably the New Orleans Saints. They're the first shutout of the entire NFL season. You think about it, there are some bad teams out there. There are a lot of teams worse than the Saints out there that have managed to put up points in every single one of their games this year. To be the first shutout, I know it's against the Packers, who are a pretty good team, but to be the first shutout in the NFL this late in the NFL season, that's got to be my biggest loser this week.
Okay, that's very fair. And again, you wonder what the Saints are going to do come off season with the salary cap. Do they just scrap everything and go to a full scale rebuild? The possibilities are endless there. For me, it's got to be Tampa Bay, which we'll talk more about them in a second. Golden opportunity to keep control of this division, and they blew it. And now they're going to need some help if they want a chance of winning the division and making the postseason. So, pretty simple. Yeah. I mean, no other way. They blew it straight up. What about your biggest winner from the past week? There's a lot of good contenders for this one.
Yeah, to continue to follow along a trend that's going on here, I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons. Uh, Michael Penix comes in to become your new starter, and up and down kind of performance. No touchdowns, an interception, but 200 yards, pretty decent completion percentage. But you win the game against the Giants with your new rookie quarterback at the start. Bijan Robinson has a pretty good game, 94 rushing yards and two touchdowns, if I remember correctly. And like you said, the Buccaneers also drop the ball, do not maintain control of this division, and now the Falcons are right back in it to win this division and go to the postseason. I think this week turned up all Falcons.
Now, Falcons fans, I think it's safe to say, had a very good Christmas. For me, look, biggest loser. There's a couple contenders there. For me, it's got to be the Arizona Cardinals. And this is nothing against them because this is a season we didn't expect them to be in the playoff contention this late in the season. But losing to Carolina, a team who, let's face it, we all know them, how bad they've been this year. They have the chance to keep their playoff hopes alive. They lose in Carolina. It's still a good year for the Cardinals, very much an improvement, and we expect big things for them next year if they continue to improve at the scale that they have been. But it just seems like a missed opportunity to maybe kind of get into the postseason there for the Cardinals. But now let's get to our headlines, and you hinted at it. Michael Penix Jr. making his first start against the Giants in a 34-7 win for Atlanta. And like you mentioned, not the greatest performance. 18 of 27, 202 yards, zero touchdowns, one interception. Although the one interception, if you've seen it, should be credited to Kyle Pitts, not Michael Penix, if we're being honest. But nothing crazy for Atlanta, but credit to Zach Robinson. They focused on the ground game with Bijan Robinson. And yeah, I really helped him out. So, thoughts on the first performance of many that we're going to see from Michael Penix Jr.?
Again, like I said, the numbers don't wow you, but he controlled the game. Like you said, the one mistake, Kyle Pitts' fault. The completion percentage is there. What they did a really good job of, like you said, was kind of letting him ease into this. They hammered the run game. They had a lot of success with the run game. And I think that's going to go a long way in helping Michael Penix feel a little bit more comfortable, take some of the pressure off the young guy, make them have to stop the run, and make that passing game a little bit easier for Michael Penix. I think if you're Falcons fans, you've got no choice but to be happy about this. You win the game. the Buccaneers lose. Penix right now, putting your team on the right track. Something that Kirk Cousins, no matter the stat line, could not do these last few weeks. Get a win.
That is very fair. And for the Giants, I guess you could say it's a win because with this and the Raiders winning, they have now full control of the number one pick in the NFL draft. And if they lose out, they will have that number one pick, their choice of Travis Hunter or Daniel Jones replacement. Different ways they could go there. I don't know what they could do, what they would do, but it's right in track for the Giants. And look, you don't want to be at this point in the season, but at this point, if you're a Giants fan, you're just praying these last two games are losses. Get them out of there.
Yeah, absolutely. You do not want to be winning games right now, especially in the Giants situation. You have a chance to really get a star in this draft to try and turn this team around. Uh, You'd hate to blow that opportunity to have your pick of the litter right now.
Very true, very true. But yeah, Giants have control of the number one pick. Now let's talk about some other games that went down from the past week in the NFL, and then we're going to get to some of the Christmas games. We talk about Washington taking down Philadelphia. Look, the obvious thing, Kenny Pickett came in for Jalen Hurts concussion. Jalen Hurts expected not to play this week with a concussion. Once again, Kenny Pickett scheduled to start against Dallas, but Washington, despite all the turnovers, despite everything not going their way early on, they were able to come back and win. And not only come back and win, come back and keep their chances for winning this NFC East still alive. They still need a lot of things to go their way, but their chances to win the division are still alive. And it's safe to say, Jayden Daniels, as great as he's been in his rookie season, this was his pinnacle of his rookie season so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure, the Jalen Hurts injury definitely threw this team off, but like you said, Jayden Daniels played out of his mind in this game, and this was a big must-win situation for the Washington Commanders. Absolutely hats off performance for the rookie for the season he's had, especially late in the season, to get out here and get this big win and keep those playoff dreams alive.
So now here's my question. Is Rookie of the Year wrapped up with this performance?
I think it's going to be hard to find another NFL offensive rookie of the year. Look, obviously, a guy like Michael Penix is not going to play enough games for it to matter. Um, Caleb Williams, while having a pretty decent season in his own right, you look at what the Bears have done this year. When it comes down to, I think even comparing body work statistically, Jayden Daniels still has the better stats on the year. But even so, I think you got to look at the teams as well. And while I don't think it's Caleb Williams' fault that the Bears are 4-12 now, that sucks to say right here. But you know, being a playoff team, I think certainly helps. I think Bo Nix would be the biggest competition on offense right now. He's had a pretty good season with the Broncos, but I just don't think anybody really compares right now to what Jayden Daniels is doing.
I mean, listen, I'm one for Brock Bowers. But like you said, I mean, the Raiders are just terrible. He's been phenomenal. I mean, they nailed that draft pick because we talked about whenever the NFL draft happened with the Raiders, they looked like they were going to go quarterback, and then literally six quarterbacks go in the top 12. So you're like, let's just get the best available player in Brock Bowers. That has worked out for them. Now you wonder, hopefully, they go get a quarterback in this draft to maybe help out Brock Bowers in the future there. But yeah, absolutely. I think to me it's Jayden Daniels. I believed it's Jayden Daniels really since the week three performance against Cincinnati. I thought he had it wrapped up. So yeah, to me. But with Philadelphia, you wonder Jalen Hurts concussion didn't play the rest of the game. Kenny Pickett did okay in his performance there. Now, Jalen Hurts expected to miss the Cowboy game. Kenny Pickett's supposed to start that. You still need to win games to make sure Washington does not steal this division out from underneath you. And we have what happened last year to Philly in the second half of the season.
Yeah, it'd be an unfortunate collapse. Like you said, something we saw almost exactly last season, except, no injury to blame it on, just purely player performance. But here, I think the most important thing is as much as you don't want to lose this division, you want to go out and win these games. You can't rush Jalen Hurts back. We've seen with a guy like Tua Tagovailoa, what happens when you start to rush people back from injury? It just delays and ruins a season for a team and ruin a season for a player. Give Jalen Hurts his time to come back, play your best football. You're still a playoff team no matter what happens at the end of this season. I think you got to remember that, take care of your players, and hope that you can, sneak out a win here at the end of the season.
Yeah, you hope so, certainly, with them again taking on a Cowboys team already eliminated from playoff contention that won't have CD Lamb. So you think maybe they got a fair shot there, to say the least. Next game we're going to talk about here, the Vikings going to Seattle, winning 27-24 on the road. Great performance by Minnesota and their offense. And now the Vikings with this win, an incredible thing now, right there with Detroit for the 1 seed. And if they win and Detroit wins this week, man, oh man, Austin, you're looking at 14-2 teams going at it for the 1 seed on the final Sunday of the regular season. It has the potential, and Minnesota did that with a tough, gutsy win on the road in Seattle.
Yeah, there's not enough that can be said about the turnaround of Sam Darnold this season. And I think it goes to send a pretty clear message to the NFL right now, that I think GMs and owners should start to pay a little bit of attention to. This is the second quarterback in as many years who was a first round draft pick, a top 10 draft pick, who was given up on by the team that drafted him, passed around the NFL as a backup, finds an opportunity to take a team that is desperate for some quarterback help and driving them now to the postseason. We saw Baker Mayfield last year. We're seeing it this year with Sam Darnold. And look, I think I can't remember who made the quote now. You'll probably know. Kevin O'Connell, actually, I believe, if I'm thinking of correctly. Organizations fail young quarterbacks before young quarterbacks fail organizations. Um, and that clearly that logic has worked perfectly for Kevin O'Connell this season. But I just think it goes to show exactly how putting a guy in the right situation and the right coaching can put a guy on the right track. And maybe head coaches and coordinators and GMs should be held a little bit more accountable for why first round picks don't pan out than the player who's only played for 3 seasons or 4 seasons for a team.
Exactly. I'm right there with you with the thinking of that. And now here's my question for you with Minnesota. Obviously, 13-2. You're going to be a playoff team, no doubt already. But obviously, let's address it. Entering the season, JJ McCarthy suffers a season ending injury. The guy that you drafted in the first round as your quarterback. Now you come out and take on, and now you come out and have Sam Darnold have the success this year. Sam Darnold, with the success, is going to get a lot of interest from NFL teams this offseason, to say the least. What are you doing if you're Minnesota in this scenario? Because JJ McCarthy should be back next year, has had a full year to kind of learn the offense while recovering. What are you doing if you're Minnesota in this scenario?
I think I'd like to try to get Sam Darnold back. At the very least, maybe McCarthy can't come back to start the season. Maybe you want McCarthy to actually, now that he's healthy and ready to play, still kind of sit and actually physically be able to learn some of those things from Sam Darnold. How to maintain yourself in the pocket, how to make, throws, make reads. Now that he can actually be on the field and take those reps. But I think it does come down to, what happens with Sam Darnold. I think you make him a generous offer. I think you make him a fair offer. But if somebody's going to make him, clearly starting quarterback caliber kind of money, I don't know that you're willing to go that far. Because as good as Sam Darnold's been for you this year, like you said, you spent a first round pick on JJ McCarthy. You want him to eventually be the future, maybe even at some point next season, whether you bring Sam Darnold back or not. You want JJ McCarthy to start. So I think you give him a fair offer. You let him know the deal. But at the end of the day, I think you probably are going to have to let Sam Darnold walk. Like you said, I think he's going to garner enough attention and enough value that one of these teams that needs a starting quarterback who's not going to be able to get their pick at the top of this lottery Maybe we'll draft a guy late in the first round or into the second round or even later that they might believe in later, but they need a guy now. We'll be willing to pay a little bit of money to get a guy who just played as well as Sam Darnold did this season.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say the least with Sam Darnold. Look, the Giants, I talked about number one pick. They could sign Sam Darnold and draft Travis Hunter, give him an elite weapon to play with in that offense. So there's always a possibility there with that. The Raiders with Brock Bowers, another good weapon. Yeah, to me, Kevin O'Connell has said, you talked about the quote that was said that, about organizations failing young quarterbacks. I mean, this is the perfect scenario in Minnesota. What does Kevin O'Connell do here with it? To me, I think you have to show your faith in the young quarterback. You don't want to give up on him just because of the success of Sam Darnold. Now I'm with you. If Sam Darnold wants to come back and you can work out a fair offer that doesn't break the bank for you, I think it's fair. But I'm really worried he is going to garner a lot of money. There's going to be some teams that are going to overpay for him, and that's nothing against Sam Darnold. NFL teams overpay everybody because they know what it takes. It's nothing against Sam Darnold saying he's getting overpaid, but NFL teams will overpay for him. I feel very confident, and it just will lead Minnesota to a tough spot, just like they did with Kirk Cousins. I'm sure they wanted to bring him back, but when they saw the Falcons offered him 180 million, they're like, no, thank you. We're good with our quarterback room we got now. So it's a tough scenario there for Minnesota, but I mean, to me, you got to keep on running with the young quarterback. Even though you haven't seen what he could do in this offense, it's got to give you confidence that Sam Darnold, a guy who really I wouldn't say had about as much time in the offense as JJ McCarthy did, can have success. That has to lead you to some sort of confidence if you're Kevin O'Connell.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. But next up, let's talk about a close one that occurred. Buffalo escaping New England 24-21. Way closer of a game than any of us expected here, especially you with the Bills being your bet of the week minus 14 and a half. So it was a close game. Buffalo was behind early, but New England just couldn't keep up in the lead, couldn't keep control. Buffalo came out in the second half, took control, and now, obviously, with some things that happened on Christmas Day, can't be the one seed, but all but seem to be locked up into that two seed. But they had to fight for this one, Austin.
Yeah, look, and this happens throughout the NFL season because unfortunately the teams are more evenly matched from top to bottom than we care to admit sometimes. And that's what happens. You come into a game thinking it's going to be easy. Like you said, I picked this game to be, 14 and a half point favorites. I went with the Bills. Um, but, it doesn't work out that way all the time. You get caught sleeping. I think what's important here is that the Bills got it together. They didn't let this game get too out of hand, and they unleashed that talent that we've come to know from the Bills from the past few seasons and including this season. Nice to see the Bills pull it out, but yeah, you hate to see a game that close near the end of the season for Buffalo.
Yeah, and obviously, look, the question with the Bills, they'll probably get the two seed. They'll probably have to go to Kansas City. Here's my question for you. We have talked about the Bills being a Super Bowl contender for what's felt like forever. Um, would you say, and this is including all the recent years, would you say this is the Bills' best opportunity to make a Super Bowl run this year?
Yes, and I hate to say that because I didn't pick the Bills to win the Super Bowl for the first time in 5 years. Uh, it sucks because I almost have to root against them this year to not win, not go to the Super Bowl and not win it, so that I can pick them next year, and we can do it then. Um, but no, seriously, I do think this is their best chance. You look at it right now, the current one seed in the NFC, the Detroit Lions, they have a win over. Right now, the one seed in the AFC, the Kansas City Chiefs, they have a win over. And they've done it in pretty exciting fashion. The Bills right now can beat anybody with the way they're playing. Um, I just don't know how this team playing at its best doesn't make a trip to the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah. It'll be tough. We got the Chiefs and their devil magic that you got to worry about, obviously. With it being in Kansas City, you know that they're going to have to handle that. I don't know how they can. But look, this is the most balanced Josh Allen we've seen. Obviously, no number one guy. He's able to throw it all around the field. They have a solid running game. The defense is getting healthier as the season goes along. It could be the year. But we also said that last year. We both were like, if the Bills are going to do it, you have home field advantage in the playoffs. Don't screw it up. And yet they did.
That's true.
So we'll see what happens there with them. And then the last game we're going to talk about from the past week in the NFL, we hinted at it. Dallas taking down Tampa Bay on Sunday Night Football. A major shocker here. Not many people gave Dallas a chance this game. Tampa had control of the division, but they got behind early in this one and basically had to play catch up the whole way. And really, they just ran out of time against the Dallas Cowboys. And Baker Mayfield, got sacked 4 times, had the turnovers. They tried the run game, didn't work. The problem, their defense could not get pressure on Cooper Rush.
Yeah, look, this is just inexcusable. I mean, what else can you say in this one? This is a Dallas team playing for absolutely nothing, and a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that's playing for absolutely everything. How you let yourself get behind in this game, how you can't come out and execute early in this game, is just beyond me. And for Dallas, where was this weeks ago? This kind of effort and energy, like you said, Cooper Rush couldn't get touched. Had they been playing like this after Dak Prescott's injury, they might still be flirting with the playoff spot right now. So I think this game is disappointing all around. I think even if you're a Cowboys fan, I'd be thinking, what is this? Why? Where did this come from? So yeah, I think that this is a surprising, good effort win by the Cowboys, but for the Buccaneers, I just do not know how you let this happen.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they got behind early and they just had to, they were playing from behind from the get go and they couldn't get it going. Like I said, they really didn't touch Cooper Rush most of that entire game. So a lot to figure out here. And honestly, they're going to need some help. They're going to need some help from the Washington Commanders on Sunday night, is their main hope if they want any chance of winning this division. Now, that's it for that week. Let's move to the games that have already happened. We've already had 3 NFL games happen, 2 on Christmas Day, and 2 absolute blowouts. Let's start with Kansas City clinching the 1 seed in the AFC, taking down Pittsburgh 29-10 in a game that, as a Steeler fan, I will just say the Steelers never had a shot in. Kansas City rolled from the start.
Yeah, I watched bits and pieces of this game, but yeah, it was just pure control from Kansas City. And then in the fourth quarter, when I felt like the Steelers were starting to drive, you had the Fryermuth intercept or fumble. Um, that's just I hate to be this guy, but Pat Fryermuth, you're a tight end. How are you getting ripped by a corner? You got to be stronger than that. Look, it was just lackadaisical kind of from the Steelers, and like you said, the Chiefs just came out, punched them in the mouth, and they controlled this game right from the start.
So now the Steelers, with this, the Chiefs clinch 1 seed, and the Steelers, due to the other game, are now a wild card team as the Ravens blow out the Houston Texans 31-2. Yes, 31-2. And it was a complete domination, was never close. Baltimore now in control in the AFC North. They win next week. They will be the 1 seed or the winner of the AFC North. And Houston, look, this is a team we came into the season having good expectations for. A team that we felt could maybe compete in the AFC. And we've seen them the last few weeks against the elite of the elite in the AFC, and it's just not even close, Austin. So what is it about Houston they've got to figure out for the future here? Because after last year, we felt the sky's the limit, and now this year with a 9-7 record, you already had the division clinch, but it just feels like a disappointment of a season.
Yeah, I think it's a couple things. I think one, obviously, a sophomore slump for CJ Stroud. Not that he's having a bad year, but this is a normal thing that we have forgotten is a normal thing. Rookie quarterback comes in as a great first year. People figure out how to defend him. Now, next year, it'll be up to them to figure out a new game plan, a new strategy. And I think the big thing for them is to hopefully, I think Joe Mixon will be back next year. If not, get him back next year. And, hammer in more Joe Mixon. You need to add some more run to this. But really, I think it's the thing we've been talking about since right before the trade deadline. This offensive line is just not going to cut it if you want to be a contender. They're letting the defenses get too many hits on CJ Stroud, put too much pressure on him, make him make too many hurried throws. And that's led to a lot of turnovers, a lot of sacks. Look, Stroud's a great quarterback. This is a great team, but this offensive line has to be better against those elites in the AFC who have these just monstrous defensive lines. You think about Kansas City, you think about Buffalo. Those teams get pressure on the quarterback. And that's certainly something that they're going to have to improve on. I think that's their biggest flaw right now.
Yeah, I have said a million times my belief of the sophomore slump for quarterbacks. So I'm right there with you, and that's clear what happened here. But I'm with you. The main thing, offensive line. The offensive line has been terrible. It has been pure garbage the entire year. It has been one of the worst in the NFL since Joe Burrow's rookie year. 5 sacks against the Ravens. Keep in mind, if the playoffs, which we'll talk more about in a minute, play out the way they do right now, they got to play the Steelers in round one. You're talking about TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, Alex Highsmith, all coming after him. It could be a rough wild card round for the Houston Texans. But yeah, the future, round one, you go find your O lineman. I don't care what it is. O line, and free agency in the offseason. Protect CJ Stroud at all costs. End of discussion for anything else. I know Tank Dell suffered the season ending injury and terrible. I feel absolutely terrible for him for that injury. But you have to get this offensive line solved first and worry about everything else later because you got to have your quarterback upright if you want any success in the NFL.
Absolutely.
But that's it for that Christmas game. The Ravens now in control of the AFC North. And now we'll talk about Thursday night football really quick. I'll make it really quick because I know this man doesn't want to talk about it. Seattle takes down Chicago 6-3. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this was a baseball game. 6-3, no points in the second half. And once again for Chicago, look, neither team played well, but Chicago, late game clock management, once again, late game management screwed the Bears over out of a chance to get this to overtime and have something to keep their season alive and or season from getting something positive, I should say. Now have suffered a 10th straight loss. Um, Austin, you have the floor, man. It was hard to watch that final few minutes.
Oh, look, after the first couple games with Thomas Brown, I was like, boy, we're actually going to have a serious discussion about Thomas Brown maybe being hired as the actual head coach. Not something I wanted, but the way the team was playing for him, even though they weren't winning, was different than they were playing for Eberflus. The effort was different. The execution was different. I was like, he genuinely might steal this job before it ever actually opens up. Fortunately, he's killed that conversation. They're playing bad. He's no longer helping. Clearly, this team needs to burn anybody and everybody in the coaching staff who has a connection with Matt Eberflus. Gone. Go, 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 go. None of them know how to manage a clock. None of them know how to call an offense. Let's get just an offensive genius in here to run the system. Hey, give Lincoln Riley a little call at USC. They're going downhill. Give him a little phone call. Dude, Coach Caleb Williams in college. At the very least, we could run a competent offense. Give Cliff Kingsbury a call. Offensive coordinator in Washington right now. Clearly, he's doing something right, and he coached Caleb Williams in college. Let's start thinking about the franchise quarterback and start running an offense and get us a competent defensive coordinator. I'm tired of the defensive head coaches. I know Nagy was an offensive head coach, but he doesn't count. I'm just so tired. Let's just get an offensive coordinator, an offensive genius, some mad scientist to run this team. Um, I don't. I just don't want to do 6 to 3s anymore. I didn't even watch the game, but I don't want to do it anymore. Caleb Williams is too good. Get an offensive line. Get a good offensive genius. Um, I wanted to get your thoughts on this real quick while we're on the subject. Some people I saw thought that maybe Ben Johnson, with some of his play calling against the Bears last week, was maybe putting on a little show for the Bears front office. You think there's any any truth to that? Because he was making some pretty exotic play calls.
Hmm. Look, I see an argument for it because let's face it, Ben Johnson will be the number one hire. Whoever wants Ben Johnson, we thought he was gone last year, but he came back to Detroit for another season. I mean, the potential's there. If he's going to go somewhere, he's going to go somewhere where he has a quarterback, where he is going to a good situation for an offense. And to be honest with you, the potential is there for the Bears offense. So if he was, I wouldn't be surprised if he was. Because if I'm the Bears, as soon as the season's over, I know you talked about Lincoln Riley, Cliff Kingsbury. If season's over, I'm calling Ben Johnson and I'm saying, whatever you want, we will pay you it. Whatever you want for your contract, we will do it. Get your butt to Chicago and fix this offense. I think that has to be done as soon as the season ends to me because I really don't know what other jobs. Obviously, we're going to see Jacksonville could be one to keep an eye on. Obviously, if Doug Peterson gets fired, I think. But if I'm the Bears, I am making that call as soon as the regular season ends and as soon as you can start coach interviews. I am ringing up Ben Johnson and telling him whatever you want, we'll do for the offense. Just come here and make this an offensive football team because, like you said, the Bears. I saw a trivia question today, Austin. Who was the last Hall of Fame QB to throw a pass for the Bears?
I don't
Any
even.
guesses?
I'm gonna guess. Boy, I don't know. Probably a long time ago.
George Blanda in 1958. The Bears not trying to bring down for you, but the Bears QB success has just not been something over the last couple of years that has, or not. I wouldn't say last couple of years, a long time. Even Jim McMahon when he was there, the injuries he had, he was gone in like 3 or 4 years. So you have a great quarterback potentially there. Now you need to bring someone in to lead that and take that to the next level and have success there. And like you said, bring in a competent defensive coach and work that way. The Bears have to change and go with the offensive minded coach. End of discussion.
Yeah, my wish list, real quick, of coaches this summer. Number one, Kyle Shanahan. I know it won't happen, but give him a phone call anyway. Number two, Ben Johnson. Obviously, enough said. Number three, Sean McVay. Also, probably won't happen, but give him a phone call anyway. You never know. Number four, Lincoln Riley. Number five, Cliff Kingsbury. Those two guys coach Caleb Williams, like I already said. Honorable mention. Number six, Pete Carroll. If all else fails, Pete Carroll said he wanted to coach the Bears. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
He's great at building a team in Seattle, so maybe he could do that in Chicago. But now, enough about the games that happen. Let's get to the games that will be happening on Saturday and Sunday. Massive playoff implicating implications for these games. And Saturday, we have two massive ones. The first one at 3:30, Bengals host the Broncos. Denver, very simple. Win and you're in. You win, you clinch a playoff spot, and no worries at all. A loss, Cincinnati wins out. Denver loses this game and loses next week to Kansas City. Cincinnati gets in the postseason, which is every team's worst fear with the Bengals getting in the postseason. If Cincinnati wants any chance at the postseason, they've got to take down the Broncos on Saturday. A massive game with playoff implications, Austin.
Yeah, this is a fantastic game here. And like you said, nobody wants to play the Bengals. They're getting hot at the right time. Man, if only they could have played this good at the beginning of the season. Um, who knows what could happen with this team? But still, win here, you put yourself on the right track. I like the Bengals to come out here and get a win over the Broncos. But look, you can't count out the Broncos in this game. They're 9-6. They've had a fantastic season. Sean Payton has really hit well with Bo Nix in this first round. I think this is going to be an absolutely phenomenal game, a must watch.
I'm contemplating the over for this game because I think there's going to be a lot of points scored here.
Oh,
Um, I think there will be a lot of points scored, but this is in Cincinnati. I don't think the Bengals are losing this game. Fortunately for Denver, the Chiefs clinched the 1 seed already. So they don't have to worry about next week. The Chiefs can play their backups, and Denver just has to beat the Chiefs backups to get in the playoffs. So I think they want to win this week and get over with, but if they don't, I think they feel pretty confident they can beat the Chiefs backups next week and get into the playoffs. So yeah, I'll take Cincinnati with you. Then Cardinals taking on the Rams here. A fun one. The Rams lose next week. Seahawks and Rams will be for an NFC West title. No wild card for those teams. No wild card for either team. You only get in the playoffs by winning the NFC West. So, a big one for the Rams. Cardinals just looking to play spoiler and maybe make this division race a little bit interesting. Who do you got in this one Saturday night in California?
so Rams win, they're in. Is that what I'm hearing?
It so it's weird because it's basically I think the Rams win and they have a strength of victory tiebreaker over Seattle. So basically they clinch the division with a win.
Okay.
Basically because if they win this game and then lose next week, they're tied with Seattle and they'll have the same record and they would have the strength of victory tiebreaker over them. So basically, Seattle needs them to lose. As far as I know, it's the way I've seen it from all the statistics and everything I've seen.
Okay, well, with hearing that and that it's basically winning you're in, I think the Rams are going to come out here and get the job done. Look, we talked about it earlier. What a great season the Cardinals have had. This was better than anybody expected, but they've hit the point in the season where people are starting to figure them out, especially teams that have seen them once already, starting to figure them out, get them taken care of. I think the Rams come out here, get the job done, then when they're in if they win this game.
Hey, let's look back. Remember the last time these two teams played? Week 2. And the Cardinals beat them 41 to 10. I mean, humiliated them.
Yeah.
This is a very different teams for both sides in that one. Rams were coming off every injury against Detroit in week 1, and the Cardinals just took advantage of it and rolled. The big thing for me, if I'm the Cardinals this year and next year, get the ball in Marvin Harrison Jr.'s hands. He has not even touched the ball as much as I think he should this year. If they do that, I think they can win. And if it was in Arizona, I'd pick them to win. But I can't do it. I got to go with the Rams to win. I think they'll lock up the NFC West tonight with the win, or not tonight, tomorrow night with the win. Now let's move to Sunday action. Interesting game for the Sunday slate. Obviously, we're going to have 2 picks for Sunday and then one for Monday. The main afternoon one Green Bay Packers taking on the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. A huge one for both sides. Both teams are already in the playoffs. But for Minnesota, if they want any chance to force a winner go home game for the 1 seed, winner get the 1 seed against Detroit next week, they have to win this game. And absolutely, it's a massive one for them in Green Bay, looking maybe to kind of sneak up and move up in the playoff spots with a tiebreaker over Minnesota. Who do you like in this one in the main afternoon game on Sunday?
Man, this is going to be a close game. But I personally think the Vikings have a lot more to play for in this game than the Packers do. I think the Vikings come out at home and get the job done in front of their faithful fans, win this ball game, and set themselves up for an opportunity to take that 1 seed next week.
I see it. And then I know the Minnesota Vikings are a cursed franchise. I'm going to take Green Bay to go into Minnesota and win this game. I expect to me again. I said it last week. I think the best team in the NFC right now is the Green Bay Packers. I think that right now, if I had to pick, I'd probably pick them to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. Detroit just has way too many injuries on the defense for me to pick. I root for Dan Campbell. I hope they make it. But if I had to pick the most balanced team and the strongest team, I'm leaning Green Bay, and I'll lean with them to win this game. Then Sunday Night Football, Austin. Man, oh man, a massive game. Falcons heading to Washington to take on the Commanders. Michael Penix versus Jayden Daniels, two rookie quarterbacks. Washington looking to keep their NFC East hopes alive, look to clinch a playoff spot. Atlanta, look, it's simple. You win this game, then next week gets a lot easier taking on the Carolina Panthers. Win those two, and you are hosting a home playoff game. This is going to be a huge one for both sides. I can't wait to see these two rookie quarterbacks go head to head. What do you like about it?
Man, this is going to be a fun, exciting game to watch. A new look for the Falcons. What's it going to look like here against a more competent team in the Washington Commanders? That's what we get to find out this Sunday night. I'm going to take the new look Falcons to come out here and stun the Commanders and put themselves in prime position to win the NFC South for believing in their savior, Michael Penix Jr.
Yeah. I'm rooting for Michael Penix. But the Falcons, going on my Minnesota Vikings one, the Falcons are a cursed franchise. They are a cursed franchise. And nothing good can happen to that franchise, which means they're going to lose this game in Washington. I'm rooting for Michael Penix Jr. to go out and ball out on national television, and I will root for him. But I really do think Washington's going to win this game. I really think they are. I think they'll keep up in that NFC East race, and Atlanta is back rooting for the New Orleans Saints next week to take down Tampa Bay. And our final game pick here, Monday Night Football, a rematch of the NFC Championship from last year. It won't be this year because San Francisco's eliminated from playoff contention. Lions heading to San Fran to take on the Niners. Look, for the Niners, you're looking to finish the season strong. And for Detroit, you're looking to keep the one seed and keep control of it, especially depending on what happens on Sunday with Minnesota. So, does Detroit go on the road and get the win here, Austin?
Yeah, I think this is probably the easiest pick you've had me do today. Unfortunately, the Niners are just kind of tattered and not really themselves. And it is Kyle Shanahan, and they can come out and do anything. He can make anything happen with a group of anybody's. Um, but the Lions, I think, are just too good, too powerful, too strong, and they've got too much to play for this weekend.
I think that's fair. I'm going to lean with the Lions because I don't doubt Dan Campbell, but I would not be surprised if this is a close game and San Francisco could come out on top. I would not, it wouldn't surprise me in this game, but I'm going to lean Detroit with you there. But now it is time for the bet of the week. I got you guys covered last week with my big bet. Of course, a big shout out to the Detroit Lions for covering me. Sorry for the Bears when that happened, but chance for you to bounce back here, Austin. What's your bet of the week?
My bet of the week is going to be. Hold on, I'm trying to get it all pulled up. I'm trying to see the exact on Betly before I let you know. Michael Penix over 3 touchdowns. That's plus 420 odds with Betly, who's not a sponsor, but they should be.
Okay, not bad going with Michael Penix. I'm liking the player prop picks, if I do say so myself, Austin.
Yeah,
The player prop picks are not bad.
every once in a while I feel a little spicy to just go throw some out there.
Yeah. For me, this is one that I think will be ugly. I don't think anyone will watch it. So therefore you might as well make a little money. Give me Saints and Raiders. Currently it is at 38 points. Give me the under. Give me the under. I don't think there will be a lot of points scored in this game. Give me the under in Saints and Raiders. This will be an ugly football game that nobody should pay attention to. So you might as well just check it. Cool, low scoring game, easy win on the under. You take it and run with it. But that is going to do it for this NFL edition of the Bold Take podcast. Keep on the lookout in a couple of days. Our college football quarterfinal preview. We're going to talk all the games. We're going to talk the first round as well. We're going to talk all kinds of things for the playoff and what to expect. And let me just say it here now, all you morons saying those teams don't belong, shut up. Shut up. Shut up.
Yeah, I don't understand that conversation because Tennessee dropped the ball. Who would have thought that a team that didn't deserve to be there? We don't want to talk about a team that didn't deserve to be there. Let's talk about Tennessee. So, boo you. College football is more fun now. And if you hate fun, I hate you.
Yeah, I agree. But we'll talk more about that in a couple of days in our college football episode. Do not miss that one. It's going to be fun to talk all those bowl games and see who gets to advance to the semifinals. But that's going to do it for us today. That's Austin Hill. I'm Austin Wader. We want to thank you for watching.